So hello and welcome to you. My name is Mark Morley and this is the IT Business Partner Podcast, a unique series run joined every week by business partners and business relationship managers from around the globe. You can think of this as your backstage pass to the world of business partnering, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons that only come from lived experience, all shared by people who are shaping this profession every day. Before we jump into the conversation today, I have my usual two favors to ask, and I'm sorry for our regular viewers and listeners, but if you do have any feedback on the podcast, I'd love to hear it. Knowing what's important to you helps shape our conversation and guides the direction of the podcast. And then secondly, if you are finding value in these episodes, please hit the follow or subscribe button. It helps us grow the channel and reach more people. So on to today's episode, and I'm delighted to be joined by our first guest from Abu Dhabi, Maryam Jawad. She's an IT business partner for Masood Automobiles, and she's recently moved from Suzuki in the UK. So good morning to you, Maryam, and thanks so much for joining me. May I ask you for an introduction before we discuss what business partnering looks like for you, what cultural differences you might have noticed and worked on two continents.
Hi, thanks Mark for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's something new that I've not done before, so I'm just diving straight into it. So so I've been a business partner for nearly 5 years. Previous to that, I had experience in digital projects, but then somehow found myself in IT specifically and IT business partnering. So with the big move that I've recently done, I found that people are different in each location. However, what their needs and their wants are kind of the same. You know, they want to be heard, they want to be listened, they want IT to work with them more efficiently, and they need someone like a business partner like myself who can speak both languages. And I'm not referring to Arabic and English, but I'm actually referring to language of IT and IT and the business. So I think with my experience in automotive and my experience also now in IT and digital, I can kind of move from one language to another quite quickly and understand the needs and the wants of the business and translate that into actionable deliverables for IT. So in terms of differences, I haven't actually felt much difference in the locations. However, what I have found is maybe the cultural aspects of the role and the temperament of certain stakeholders are different within both regions, but the needs and the wants are always the same, and they always want what they want, and IT are expected to deliver it in the best way possible. So yeah,
just touching on language there. So I've mentioned this to a few of the guests. So when we first got involved with BRM, we thought of it as two ways. One as like a translator, trying to translate business language into IT and back the other way. But then also like a marriage guidance counsellor. So you're trying to really understand people and understand, why they're thinking a certain way and what their pressures are. So just going back to the language, do you find that people do appreciate that you can step back and understand both sides? And I've said this before, but when you're, especially if you're in IT, you just get used to the language. It doesn't become jargon anymore. It's not like you're trying to confuse people. That's just how you talk. But then when you say those same words to people in the business, it might as well be Arabic or French or something else. So do you find that people appreciate that you're able to kind of translate from one to the other and back again?
Yeah, and I think that's where the needs of having an IT business partner and the value that they bring is really important. Now, I've seen cases where a developer or someone with an IT background goes into a business partner role, and it hasn't quite worked because they're not able to speak the same language as the business and the needs and the want. And I think what's probably the better way around it is having someone that kind of understands technology, but not to the nth degree, but understands it to an extent that can speak the IT lingo, but also can speak from the business perspective. And I don't know, from my personal opinion, I think someone coming from the business side can do that a lot better than an IT person coming from a very heavy developer. But I think the whole source of whether it will work for an IT business partner, whether you're right for that role, is if you have the right personality traits, you have the right ability to tailor your communication to both sets of people, whether that's culturally, whether that's business unit wise. So I think it's really down to if you as a person in your soul are a business partner, then it will work out. But I think where it's really bad cases of it where it hasn't quite worked because they're one or the other, And same with the business side, where they're not able to understand the technology lingo because it's just too far from what they're used to. So yeah, it's just been a happy medium, definitely.
So we've heard from a number of people. Some people come from a technical background, a very technical background. Others have come from business. We've even had kind of accountants and lawyers come into this role. But it has seemed that it can be easier to pick up the technical side. There are kind of things you can learn easily. You can learn how this connects to this and what's involved. Whereas the personal side of it, the empathy side, the more human side of it is more difficult to pick up. And so I've actually had someone come to me. They were looking at business relationship manager roles, and they said, I'm worried at that. I'm not technical enough. I don't have the technical ability. But I could tell from speaking to them that they really, were good at speaking, good at listening, and that kind of thing. So I said to them, don't need to worry too much about that, because actually I think that the two skills you need to learn, I think that side is probably more difficult. The so-called soft skills are the more difficult. Have you, in your role, how do you develop those skills? Is it something you just as a person have kind of got, or is there ways that you can kind of improve them?
I don't want to be controversial, but I actually think it's more of an innate thing. I think it's quite hard to learn. I think you may not have specific skills and you can build upon that with training. But I think, like I alluded to earlier, I think it's in your soul, whether you're that type of person. I think you have to be a people person. You have to want to help people and be able to manage your stakeholders in a way that you would like to be treated as well. So I think my answer to that question would definitely be that you just have those skills. You can develop them further with training and etc. But I think you just have those attributes. And like you said about your case, is that you can have if you have the soft skills, that's way more important than the technical skills, because technical skills are a lot easier to learn. If you're just not a people person, or you just don't have the right tone of voice or something like that, it's a lot harder to change in yourself. So yeah, I definitely think it's more innate thing.
One thing that I hadn't really thought about too much, and I can't remember who it was I was speaking to, maybe Roland in one of the previous episodes, but I kind of thought that being a nice person is kind of going to set you up for being a business partner. But one thing that you really need to do is have a thick skin and really be able to kind of not take things to heart. And I've mentioned this before, that I've been in meetings with people where it's been really difficult. Someone's really cross, really, there's something's not gone right and they're really unhappy about it. So as a business partner, you need to be able to understand that it was not your fault. You're kind of in the middle. But is that something else that you found that you've maybe sometimes struggled with, or you can deal with it, that being able to kind of separate yourself from the work and so this is not personal, this is just something someone's going through?
Yeah, 100%. I think that is a big part of the role. I also think it's the ability to remove other people's opinions from things and emotions. I had a recent situation whereby, coming into a new role, you have these preconceptions of people, but also you have a lot of voices that are coming from external saying this person is a troublemaker or this person is impossible to work with, and people that have done the role or in different areas. And so I always take people's opinions, but I take them with a pinch of salt, but I put it on the side and make an informed decision of myself on is this person actually a difficult person to work with, because I always find that there's always a reason why they're being difficult. And I think if you are, like you said, a people person, you want to get to that root cause and you want to please them. You want to crack the nut almost and say, no, you're not just being difficult, this is the reason. I'm very much like that. I very much look at someone and I make my own judgment on them, having worked with them for several months or years. I don't jump to what everyone else is claiming about that person. So in the situation I had when I joined here, I had all these voices telling me this person is a troublemaker, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, actually, he's probably one of my strongest stakeholders. I have one of the most strongest relationships with him. And I think it's just a case of maybe that person who was working with that stakeholder just didn't work out and the relationship just wasn't there. That person took things personal, but you have to understand that this person's not being difficult because they hate you. It's because they hate a process or a part of what you're delivering, and it's trying to get that fixed first. And yeah, don't take anything personally, and obviously there is a line where it becomes personal, but that's only at that point when it crosses. I don't think I take anything work related personally, because it just doesn't make sense to. You're there to deliver results. The results aren't what the a customer wants, then they're going to be upset. So we have to understand an element of empathy there for what they want. But yeah, so definitely, I've had those scenarios quite a lot.
I had a person I worked with a while ago, and it was very well disliked within the company. But then I got to work with him, and I could see why he rubbed people up the wrong way. But I learned so much from this person. I actually got along with them really well, and I think that they appreciated that I was looking past, what other people were getting stuck on. So, and you mentioned it there, that once you got to work with that person, I think they appreciated that you'd taken the time to understand why it was that they were upset. And so I think those are where maybe some of the strongest relationships are formed.
Yeah. It's definitely a role whereby you have to look past what everyone else thinks. And, the stakeholders are always wanting something. So the people that you work with are always wanting something. It's just you're the detective and trying to find out what exactly they want and how they tick as a person as well, because you have different types of people at different types of level, and you have to tailor your communication to suit that person. Now, if you know someone isn't very good in meetings, but they're better on face-to-face, I make that conscious effort to go face-to-face with them and hack out the conversation or understand what they need. It's just trying to be a bit like tailoring yourself. I was trying to find the word of the animal, the chameleon. That is it. It's trying to be a chameleon, able to take different things and able to move it around and make sure you adapt to the customer as opposed to the customer having to adapt for you. I think that's a good IT business partner.
Well, like what you said as well about being a detective, that's quite cool, because you're kind of uncovering the clues that can help you build those relationships and find out what makes people tick. Did you, were you aware of a business partner role or BRM role before you moved into it?
No, that's actually a funny story. I had no idea what it was. It was at the time when I had applied for the role, it was IT project manager. So I assumed it was a project manager role, went through the process, and then it wasn't until I got the job and started, they said, oh, the job, actually, IT business partner. I was like, okay, what is that? So I had to do a bit of digging to find out what it actually is. I'd obviously heard of HR business partners and finance business partners. I hadn't at that point understood what the IT business partner role was. Whenever someone asks me what is a IT business partner, including my own family members, they have no idea what it is. I always say it's literally an IT project manager, plus you're also like a HR business partner trying to get what they want from the business and being that middle person. Yeah, so I didn't know what it was. I then learned what it was, and now I really enjoy the role, and I think it's it's almost a title that was essentially made for me, because I am not technical and I wouldn't say I'm fully business operational. So I like having that bit of a middle ground job role where I can dab into my technical side, but also dab into my business acumen and everything about business operations and marketing, etc.
Yeah, it's funny actually how many people have come on the podcast have said that this role was designed for me. It's like if they could have created a role for themselves 10-15 years ago, this would have been it, and they've somehow kind of been drawn to it, which is really nice that kind of people have found a place that they're comfortable to be in. Have you found, because whenever we talk to business partners or BRMs in different companies, the organization views it a slightly different way. So some companies view it as we would view it. So when I say we got involved with the BRM Institute a number of years ago, and they kind of have a body of knowledge that they've created and built up around this capability in this role, and they see it as a strategic role. So you're really trying to get involved with business strategy, kind of help bring IT along, make sure you're aligning capabilities. And then there's other companies see it as very much a transactional role. So you're more like an HR business partner, where you're like the first point of contact, and if anything goes wrong, people can come to you. So where would you see yourself, or where do you think your organization sees the business partner? Is it somewhere in the middle, or do they want you to be a bit more strategic and help business innovate and help IT innovate?
Yeah, I definitely think it's the latter one. So I think it's the fact that so Al Masood specifically, I know my previous role, so in Suzuki I was the only IT business partner, and I looked after quite a wide range of things, including projects and operations, service desk, all that. And I was that one point of contact where you would raise issues with escalation points. That was, I think, much more transactional, like you said. But in my role now, I think it's much more of a strategic role. It's dynamic in the sense that we get involved with small change requests, infrastructure projects like new showrooms, for instance. We get involved with digital project, application projects, change requests for small, tiny things. And we also are involved in the digital transformation of where we're going as a business and as a company. So I do sit in the annual planning meetings alongside the directors, and I make sure that I understand what their vision is and how IT will play into that vision. That's a really key part of your business partnership, and I think that's a bit different to what I was before, and I think it is that great step up for me, because I was doing maybe the transactional stuff and learning a bit more about IT in that first initial role in Suzuki, but now I've been able to take these bigger pieces of deliverables and strategic topics and really deliver towards them as well. So and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying having that more of a top line view on how IT makes a difference in strategy and how we deliver. We actually are the core function that everything weighs on in order for something to be successful, because we need technology in anything that you're doing, even down to implementing a new car, for instance. There is always an element of IT in anything. When we're selling a new type of model, IT still needs to be involved. It's almost like we're always involved in something. So I guess it's a good function area that gets involved in all these strategic topics and deliverables. So yeah, that's kind of how it's kind of transitioned for me from a transactional, more like single point of contact role for IT to more of a strategic role where I am now.
Do you find your IT colleagues appreciate that you can give them the bigger picture? So rather than being told, go and build me this, you can say to them, look, you need to build this, but this is why. And then maybe, if you've got any other ideas, maybe we need to change the direction. But do you think they appreciate kind of being brought along and seeing things from, a higher view?
I think my experience specifically with developers, sometimes when they get the deliverable directly from the customer or the stakeholder, say we cut out the IT business partner work stream and it goes direct, they will just deliver what they're told to deliver. They won't actually see what is the purpose of it unless they're really interested and proactive in that approach. But what I found with bringing in a layer where it's someone that can translate that into IT deliverables is that you do get that bigger picture, and actually they may give you 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to achieve what you want to achieve, and you can now replay that back to the business and say, these are our choices, which one actually fits alongside your strategy, and I can make that call as well. So I think it's very much like having the ability to zoom out a little bit and give the developers and the wider IT team the different approaches, and them being able to propose different solutions to me so that I can then take the right one to the business. So I mean, we have quite a few product teams within our organization, like from systems, from AI, from business intelligence. We have different product teams. Now, whatever I'm trying to achieve, it may be, let's say, a report of some sort. The business wants to know how many of X models created, or they want a regular report coming. Now, I can get that directly from the product team that run the system. I can get that from a Power BI dashboard, which will probably be more aesthetically pleasing and much more intelligent. And then you've got, you could go with a third-party system that can provide something. Now, I've got different solutions, and what meets the customer's need is a judgment that comes through me, but also ultimately they can make. So yeah, I definitely think that gives a bit more context into what as IT we're delivering to the strategy, as opposed to just giving them what they want straight away.
Do you play much of a like a portfolio role? So you can look at all the projects that are coming in, and then you can decide, okay, let's run with this one, and kind of ensure that different parts of the business understand what pressures are on the IT and what, limited resources, how it can be best allocated. Do you get involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do portfolio management. So Al Masood has various different companies. They have AMA, which is Al Masood Automotive, is one of the branches or the biggest company within the family company. Now, I'm the IT business partner for that larger organization. And there's a wide range of portfolio projects on there. So I work alongside another business partner, which is my counterpart, who works within after sales, which is parts and service. And I look after sales, marketing, and customer experience. Now we sit together and look at the portfolio, look at our priorities, look at the resource that we have available to us. So from the product teams and how busy they are and what they're doing. But you have to kind of see that as a portion, because there are other companies in the Al Masood portfolio that also require the same resource. So it is a bit of a juggling act in terms of priorities and what the deliverables are and how they're going to actually affect revenue, for instance. That's one of the measures we use. But we use like a value stream matrix to establish which of the projects are more of a priority. And then we take that forward to the business and say, okay, this is the list of projects, this is the timelines for each one, and this is how we deem it in a priority order. Do you disagree? Do you agree? And then we can have an open dialogue there into how we could possibly change things, or if they see it differently.
That's wonderful. That sounds exactly how we would see this works well. The value matrix that you've got, is that something you created yourself? Is that something?
No.
Some sort of...
Yeah, so the IT director, he is also from the UK, and he had experience of this type of setup before. So he implemented this value stream matrix, and yeah, I still feel like there's so much more we can do with it, because right now the business aren't really used to discussing projects in accordance to those measures, like the revenue, customer experience, all these type of measures and metrics. But we're trying to slowly introduce it, so it's not a big bang and like saying you need to prove to our project how much this project's going to be giving us revenue so that we can do it. We don't want that kind of hard approach. We're trying to softly introduce it. So currently this is the first year we fully introduced it, and it's been working really well. And it just enables us at the end of the year to see the value that IT have delivered for the business, and it to be really tangible for the business to appreciate, because sometimes we are just seeing it as transactional. We'll just give them, and there's no there's no actual fixed cost that we've been part of or contributed to. So allowing us to track that, even if it's on a band level or a range level, not a specific figure, we're able to actually say that we've delivered X amount of value to your business within these measures. So yeah, it was driven from top down, but definitely it works really well, and I think it's just going to evolve as the years go on to be a bit more specific to IT.
So would you say that is your kind of BRM or business partner tool, that that's yours, that you kind of maintain it and share it with people?
Yeah. So we all of our projects run with those metrics, and if it doesn't have that metric, then it's not deemed a project. It would be deemed as change request. So and that also has a change advisory board. So I think the structures there is that with the business, they're always going to ask why we're doing a certain thing. It's just making sure we can justify why we are doing certain projects versus other.
Okay, that's cool. Because one of the things that comes up all the time with business partners is, because for the most part, they don't have their own deliverables, so they're helping other people with their deliverables. So trying to justify your value, kind of demonstrate your value, is quite difficult. So I always try to recommend to people, find some way that you can kind of catalog what you're doing. And even if you can't put your name on something that's, you've done this, you can at least show what you've helped to get done. So it sounds like this matrix that you're using is a great way to be able to show to everyone else, this is what we've been involved in. And without it, these things wouldn't have happened. So that's correct. Did you say the IT director is who you roll up into? Special man. And is there a CIO above him, or does he report into the board?
He reports to the CFO, so the CTO currently. But yeah, so he sits almost at a director level, but then there's an executive board at the top.
Which is also interesting, because often people, this function doesn't roll up through the CFO, and it's always something that we've thought would be a great idea, because CFOs obviously have the investment mentality. That you don't just have a budget and then spend it. Everything has to be an investment, and why are you spending it? So having the BRM or business partner team roll into the CFO, I think has been a great bit.
It's just a recent thing that's happened, I think, over the last month. It was reporting to the COO, but he left, and then they brought in the CFO instead as a reportee for IT specifically. And I think it's for that reason, because they wanted to make it a bit more the IT to be tangible and report to more deliverables for the CFO. So I think that was strategically done for that reason.
Okay. And how do you know what the CFO's view is of the business partner team?
Yeah, no, I don't know specifically his feedback on it, but I think he sees the value that IT. So we recently had a function where we had an internal IT department meeting, and he joined, and he could see all of the deliverables from each of the areas, and business partnership was one. And we presented basically, this is the value that we're creating, this is our role, these are the projects, this is the extent at which we're getting involved with the business, and no other role has the visibility that we have to every level of management. So I think he appreciates that. And I mean, I'm going to say the normal term that all business partners use, we are the single point of contact. And I think it's very evident in this organization that we are the single point of contact, because there's so many product teams behind us that we also have to communicate with. And it's easier for the business to have that one person. So yeah, I think he definitely sees the value in us, and in those opportunities where we're able to present our value, like these internal meetings, I think kind of opens his eyes up a little bit into what we do, because we are sometimes forgotten because we just make things happen, and we don't generally have we don't generate any revenue ourselves from it. And usually we're part of a wider project. IT is a nugget of a wider project, so we can be forgotten. But I think really PRing us as a department, that's one of my biggest objectives for this year and next year, is to PR myself and PR what our department does a little bit better, because IT are expected to be just get on with it kind of thing, and not really shout about all the deliverables that we've done, which is quite sad, because we do some amazing work. So yeah, that's one of the big things that I want to do, and I'm hopefully it will reach the CFO.
Yeah. Well, this is just nice that you said that, because this is something, I mean, it wasn't the original intent of the podcast, but one thing I've seen a lot of recently is that I get contacted by people that they're part of a BRM team or business partner team, and then they've just been let go. So they've got a new CIO come in. He doesn't really understand business partnering, doesn't see the value, sees, this overhead of all these people. So then they're chopped. And so suddenly you've got, a group of people looking for work. And I kind of always put it down to the CIO. It's their fault. They don't understand, so it's their fault. But then I spoke to other business partners and BRM teams where they're really trying as hard as they can to make sure that they do blow their own trumpet, so that people they are aware of what it is they're doing, because it's quite a new role, I think, quite different. So there's a lot of roles in a company where it's clear to everyone what it is they do. And this is another thing that BRMs and business partners always struggle to tell people. And you mentioned your family. Well, what is it you do? If you're a truck driver or a baker, it's easy. But if you're a business partner, what is it? But it's something I try to encourage people to do. Make sure you kind of keep a track of what it is you're involved in, and shout from the rooftops, let people know, because I mean, as Jeremy said right at the start of the series, he knows he's doing a good job if he doesn't get stopped in the hallway and kind of people throwing stuff at him. But when you're not doing a bad job, but then what about when you are doing a good job? Do you get a recognition for that people are aware of it? So I think the more we can do as business partners and BRMs to demonstrate that, the better it is. And then talking about the CFO, you need to get more people in leadership aware of your function and your capability, because then if you get one person in leadership that goes and is replaced, if other people are aware and see your value, it's going to be harder for your function to be eliminated. So if this is something you've got on your list to do, I'll definitely encourage you to kind of give that some focus, because it is a shame when I speak every week to people and it's clear the value they're bringing, the money they're saving, the innovations. But if it's not obvious within the business, if it's not obvious to leadership, then really, it's a dangerous place to be at.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, agreed.
So it's good. It's good that you've got the tool already, and it's good that you've got that on your mind to do. Just going back to when you moved into the role, what kind of, because there is the BRM Institute that have a body of knowledge and training and stuff, but many people are not aware of that. So these roles have really been designed in-house. Where did you get input from? How do you know how to design the role and what it is that you need to do within that role? Is it something that as a team you kind of collectively say, well, we think this would work and that would work? How does that come to be?
About the actual business partner role, you mean?
Yeah, about your actual role. No, just knowing what it is that you should do.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was kind of like a fluke. Let's just say at the beginning, I knew project management. I think that's a fundamental. I knew project management and I knew how to work with people. So like earlier on in our conversation at the beginning when we were talking about soft skills, so I had all of that. I think it's building the processes around that and also building the processes designed to an organization that fits. So Suzuki was much more small scale. And I was touching distance to most of the employees there because it was a very small office. So it was very much based more around working on the project's framework and like how a project comes in, the request, the justification, and then also how that gets approved, and then the actual development timeline, doing it in agile, how we monitor it, how we track it. So it was very much like that. Moving into this role was slightly different because it's larger scale. So, and there's also other business partners. So we have like a hub of business partners. There's 5 of us, and that's where we actually grew our expertise a bit more because we all contributed to things that we'd done in previous organizations and what worked, what didn't. So we actually worked collectively on how we're doing it now, and we all do it kind of different, if I'm honest, but I quite like that. I don't think that all BPs should be the same. I think our stakeholders are different, the types of projects we deliver are different. And that's like the core reason why I don't think any business partner should be treated the same. Like each business partner specifically in Masood is different and delivers in a different way. However, there's always a framework in the background that we always tick the certain boxes of things that are required to do. It's just that we do it in our own separate ways. So currently the process flow that we have for all projects and change requests is unified, but the way in which we do it can differ. And I think it will evolve as well. Like it's set right now, but it might change. And I do think we need to review it again because some things are not working, some are.
If one of your team left, then you brought someone else in. Do they have a starter pack? Do they know, okay, look, this is the kind of things you should do first. This is how you set a stage for your role.
Yeah. So we have a business process flow. We have a SPOC as well, and we have, we're able to hand that over to the person and say, this is the process. But I always caveat, because we had a new starter last year or early this year that came in, and I just caveated to her, say, meet your stakeholders first.
Right.
Use this as your, I guess, like your fact sheet of this is how we do things, but meet your stakeholders first and understand how they work, because a lot of our stakeholders are fairly senior individuals, so they don't want to be bogged down by the processes. They want to you have to make it easy for them. So if it's just a case of every bi-weekly I'm going to meet with you and you can give me your project requests or project updates, that's fine. Or they might not find a weekly project update email very useful. They may not even look at it. So why are we going to put so much effort in creating that? Though it's definitely meet your stakeholders first and then refer to the business process as a second point, because then you can tailor what you know about the stakeholder to the process and match them up.
Yeah. And is that process documented? So if you did have someone start new, they already knew, right, I'm going to have a relationship with these people, and this is the kind of things that they expect from me. This is what today that is kind of
we have a whole process flow that's given to them, and it's really useful because you can see visually on like a Visio diagram how each of the process and who's responsible for each part, which I think is really valuable. It wasn't there when I joined, and after I joined, we got together as a BP network and developed that alongside the director, so that we are not spending too much time onboarding people, but also so that we know what the process is and it's on paper. We're in a group.
Yeah, it's really cool, really useful, because this is something that doesn't happen a lot elsewhere. So because business partners and BRN, and are really familiar with the term BRN, Business Relationship Manager?
I've heard it before. I've not really used it very often, I'll be honest.
Because I keep mentioning that. And again, the institute we work with, they're based out of the US, and they introduced us to this capability. So they call people BRNs in the US. Being more outside of the US, it is more business partners. So I just keep using those terms together because that's what people are used to. But we don't, I think, because people, they keep saying there's nothing like a typical day for a business partner. Every day you come in and something's different. But there are some things you can do to kind of help stabilize, not SLAs, but really just understanding how you're working with people, who it is you're working with, what it is they expect from you, what it is that they can expect them, what you can expect from them, what they can expect from you. A lot of people don't do that. So it is a lot more kind of ad hoc. And even though each business partner is different, each relationship is different, I think it's great to have that kind of foundation. So just to the point you said, that if someone does come in, you're not kind of rebuilding everything from scratch, so people know where they're starting. So I think that's a really important thing. Just going back to the things you learn and things that help you do your job. Is there anything any training you've been on, or anything you've learned as a skill that you thought, actually this really helps me in my role, whether it's like change management you mentioned earlier, or we've even had people go on finance courses or sales courses. Are there any things like that you've done that have actually really helped you in your role?
No. I think so. I've done like Prince 2. I've done change management. I think change management is great. I've done the courses, and I did it when I was doing consultancy. So consultancy is a little bit different, but it still kind of is in the remit of a business partnership kind of profile in a sense. But when I did change management, it's very much more of how a company adapts to a project change and the processes of that, and how we can soften the blow basically. But I think for me, I don't want to sound like I'm not appreciative of the intellectual stuff or the courses, but I do feel like it's the type of job that you get better with time, the more contact you have with people. And I think you can have so much training, so many courses, but really it's a real life situation. And like you said earlier, every day is different, and some days you're like, oh well, I wasn't expecting that, and then you have to adapt to how you deal with it. So I personally think you can go on a million courses, but it won't prepare you for what actually happens when you start in an organization and start in this role, and the different scenarios you can be up against. But I do feel like you can do things like conflict management, change management, all these type of courses. Even when I did agile delivery, it gives you that insight into more the development side of things and understanding how to track that.
Right.
But I don't think it will ever give you the value that it does when you're actually in the role. So if I was to give advice to anyone going into like a BRM role or IT business partner role, I would say go in with low expectation, but expect yourself to learn a lot in the first year, and establish yourself is the main thing. Establish yourself within the organization as a key point of contact, and as a problem solver, as opposed to a problem creator. And build that rapport with your stakeholders. That is number one for me. And the first 3 months, my mantra is that I will not introduce anything new in the first few months in terms of how I deal with that person, because I'm more learning about them first and learning about the organization before I can make suggestions on let's change this, let's change that, without knowing the full context.
You mentioned in Suzuki you were one of one, so it was kind of difficult for you to kind of find new ways to do things or find the best ways to do things. You're now a team of 5, but are you connected with business partners outside of your organization? Do you know kind of how people are doing things elsewhere to give you kind of some ideas you might be able to bring into the company?
No, if I'm honest, no, I haven't. I haven't actually connected with a lot of business. To be fair, joining here was the first time I'd been amongst other business partners.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hadn't. And Suzuki, it was a smaller role, like I said, and it was more related around the finance business partners and the HR business partners and learning about them and how they process things. But no, I haven't, if I'm honest.
Okay. And the rest of your team, do you know if they've come from business partner backgrounds, or are they all new to the role as well?
I think a lot of them have come. Well, the lady I work with, she's more project manager like me. So she came from a project management business analysis side. I think a lot of them come from a BA side. And some are really technical, some have come from a technical role. So one of the guys that is a business partner now used to be a systems analyst for the main system that automotive use, which is called Autoline. So I think, and he is very knowledgeable, but he has those soft skills. So I think personally, it's just about your background. But I've found that project management is the main kind of fundamental that you have to have in order to be successful.
Yes. Yeah, and to be fair, most of the people that we speak to, I mean, we've had a lot that come through BAs, they're business analysts, and so we've had a lot of those. But 9 out of 10 people are heavily involved in projects. So if you don't understand the flow of that, then you're going to struggle. But what we've seen from other business partners is they get involved earlier and finish working later on the project. So anyone that's a project manager will have a start and finish point instead. You get the idea for the project and then it's delivered. But then the business partner is there to make sure that the value is achieved afterwards. So once the project's finished, what were our value expectations? What was the business expectations? And then right up front, kind of helping to create the idea of the project, and they call it ideation in some circles. So is that also, do you find that you kind of start before the project managers and finish after them?
Yeah, so we are the project managers in this this organization. So we do work.
Okay, so
No project managers. There are infrastructure project managers that assist with the more like infrastructure projects, which is way out of our depth. But in terms of application projects, no, we kind of manage that process. So we do the ideation, the business analysis, the project charters, all the way through to approval. And then also within the development phase as well, we are very much on board to track the development, make sure that it's going correctly. Now we're there for UAT, we're there for go live, and then like you said, the last stage is value realization and making sure that the business are happy with everything that we've delivered and it's delivered the right value. From what I've seen is that business partners are hidden as project managers within an organization as well. I rarely have I seen a business partner and them have an application project manager as well. Unless it's a really large scale organization, which I haven't come across yet. But I do feel like if it was that type of role, I don't think I would be that interested in it. I think the thing I love about the business partnership role is not just being involved at the beginning, at the ideation and then the realization, but seeing it through to the end and seeing that as like a big deliverable that I've done. And every project is like my little baby. So I try and last and make sure that it goes well and then be happy when I let it go, so I think for me, that's what the beauty of this role is. But I can see that there are other business areas where it is just from the ideation to the end stage. For me, luckily, and for my personality style, I can have it from the beginning to the end.
I think that helps from a visibility perspective, because this is what we see with a lot of other business partners that we have relationships with, is that there are program managers, there are product owners. So those are the people that get to have the credibility for when something's delivered, whereas the business partner is just there to help it through. So they'll get involved in ideation, they'll get involved in the rationalization of the project, look at all the different projects coming in, but then they will hand over to a project manager and let them run with it. And it's only at the end they come back in to make sure that things have gone as they should. So I think from your perspective, it sounds great the way it works, because you get to put your name on it the whole way through, so it's clear what your involvement's been and your team. So I think that's good. And maybe that's because we're always trying to figure out what the silver bullet is, but for business partners, how can we kind of cement them in the business, where if there's ever any doubt as to value they're bringing, how can we kind of help them substantiate that? So I think the fact that you're owning the projects the whole way through gives you a clear benefit in that respect, and so the leadership know what your involvement is. I think that's where it gets a bit harder for other people, where they don't have a deliverable themselves. But I guess it maybe from that perspective, they get to be involved in more projects. So I guess there's only so many things you can do yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a level of the size of the project. I think if it's a very large project, like a SAP implementation, yeah, you cannot be doing a VP role and a project management role for that. But I think when you have these smaller strategic projects that are going out throughout the year, and some of them are mainly supplier-led development, I think, yeah, a BP can still deliver those projects and be successful in those projects. It's just those really larger projects which need more like a program manager in and various other stakeholders, like a different structure, like an SAP implementation. I say that because we have an SAP implementation and it's completely separate. I do. So I think that in that case, yeah, but where you can, you will be able to do both roles, I think, and that's optimal for me anyway.
Just thinking of you mentioning the SAP project, this is something that we've often found in companies. They name the project after the IT solution. So rather than being like a procurement project or a customer management project, it's a SAP project or something. Do you find that in your organization that the projects are named after the IT solution?
Well, people refer to it as SAP, but actually there is a different project name for it, like a more fancier name. It's called the Monaro project. But what's that? Oh, it's the SAP project. Oh, okay, yeah, we know it. Yeah, so I think it's just, we always try to glamorize these projects, but actually people are going to know it from the technology that and the made a deliverable of the project. So yeah, even like one of the projects that I have is to implement a speech analysis tool for our call center agents. Now, if I call it what the tool is, they don't understand it. So I have to say, oh no, it's a speech analysis tool. They're like, oh, okay, now we understand.
That's cool. I mean, we've found if you give things a technical name, then the business is switched off immediately. Whereas if you give something a business name, the business are more likely to take ownership of it and sponsor it and see it through. So that's where it's just interesting to hear how people label these things.
That's what they're trying to do by giving it the Monara project name. And also for it, because there's different components of the SAP program and different deliverables, I think it just groups it into one. So yeah, no, I think it's just a case of how you PR the project and how you want to get people on board, and it's one of the tactics to use, really.
I'd be interested to hear from anyone that has ever been working for an organization that's completed an SAP project. Because
hopefully
I've worked for 2 companies where they were implementing SAP the whole time I was there, and then I worked for another company. They went for an alternative to SAP because they thought the SAP would take too long to implement. So they went with another company, and they also didn't finish that implementation while I was there either. It just seems these things are so massive, these systems.
Big project, huge projects. But I think I've seen organizations have been able to do this side. One of the biggest automotive brands here also have done it. And they've done it and it's working. But I think it's a case of the speed at which people expect and when it actually happens. That's what and there's that managing expectations, that there's bad PR for SAP as well, would like you just said, that it tends to take ages and people don't have much faith in it. But I think once it's done, maybe SAP need to get better at PRing themselves and say actually it has been done, because I've seen it happen. So I definitely think it's a more of a lengthier timeline, but I can see the way we're running it is that things are being delivered throughout the year, little like modules of deliverables, instead of doing like a big bang launch, because that's way too big for the size of organization that we have. It's just too much. We have multiple different organizations within a family business. So we try and do the smaller nuggets, and automotive is one of the largest ones, so that will come later on next year.
Are you tinkering with it as you go? Because this is another thing we find with these big systems. If they were to be implemented as they would probably get implemented quite quickly. There's certainly the organizations I've worked with, and Compact or Hewlett was one of them. They wanted to change stuff. All this stuff they wanted to change. So whenever an update comes along, you've got to kind of back out all these changes you've made, run the update and optimization. Are you finding that loop? Yeah. So are you customizing a lot, or are you trying to keep it as vanilla as possible?
No, we're trying to keep it as standard as possible. And a lot of the mantra of the program is, let's see what the standard delivers, and then if we need the further customization, we will. But all those customizations have to be justified, and they go into like a full board of approval for those changes. We call them like CRs. So yeah, definitely we're trying to just not stray away from the standardized version for that exact reason.
Okay, that's cool. Where do you see your role going forward over the next few years? Do you see you taking on more responsibilities from within the business, or do you see it moving to something different?
Yeah, I think I've really enjoyed the first year of doing it here in the UAE. I think it's been a big changing countries and cultures and coming. So I think that was quite nice to have a year of just getting accustomed to everything and building. I think now I feel a lot more confident in my approach, in my knowledge of the business, and in my general know-how of the culture as well, and the way everything operates in automotive here, because it's very different to the UK. But I think going forward, would I like to grow? Of course. Where that would be, I don't know. But I think my main objective in the next year or so is to really do more of the strategic-led approach from director level down, to understand and really sit on that level of conversations to understand before I even. So right now we're doing our planning for 2026 already, and I'm in all those conversations. And last year I missed that period. So this year will be the first kind of full year I see it, from planning to beginning year to full implementation. So I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, is having those strategic conversations and being visible across the organization in all of those discussions.
Do you get the opportunity, because much of being a business partner is knowing what the business needs and trying to kind of get ahead of the conversation? Are you able to, are there ways that you can do that? I mean, do you spend much time kind of researching your own business and other people's businesses to see kind of what might be coming down the line that you can use, or do you rely on information from within the business to learn about it?
No, we do a lot of sourcing of information for requirements. So in terms of, like, if we have a need of the business, like today we were on a call about how we implement AI agents for voice for our CEC. So we do have a lot of these discovery calls with exciting software companies that are doing things in those spaces. So that's quite exciting to do, and you always have your eyes open from that, because there's so much interesting things that are being done. But I think it's always led from what do we want as a business mission, as Masood's business mission, a strategy, instead of seeing whatever people are doing and just like trying to mimic it or trying to take ideas. It's more as to how, like, a lot of people are using the word AI. They want AI this, they want AI that, but no one's really actually saying, okay, what are we actually going to be using it for? And those are the tailored conversations that we're having, and the more structured conversations we're having here is that, okay, we know AI exists, we know it can improve and automate processes, but where in Al Masood do we see it improving? And one of the areas is obviously voice and call center agents. So having an AI agent will simplify that. So those are the kind of more targeted conversations about AI that we can have, as opposed to just going and seeing what all other organizations that might not have the same setup that we have.
Are you spending much time trying to rein in the business because they're getting excited and carried away with all these things and just go and grab, hey, well, so bring it out a little bit, it's it?
Definitely. I think that's a big part of my role, part of the whole IT business. So I think trying to make sure that we don't procure systems for the sake of it, and we have a real justification. So yes, definitely. It is a lot of why having that, do you really need it conversations, but I think it's all required, and that's a fundamental of anything that we procure externally, or even we do as a project internally. The why is the most important aspect of it. If you can't justify it, you can't have it.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds fair. We're kind of almost at the end of our session now. So you did give some advice to BRMs earlier, but I have to ask you at the end, is there any other parting pearls of wisdom you can share, or other things that you'd say, don't do this to support you going forward?
I think my main thing, having now done a year here, is when you get the opportunity to do a role that sounds very different to what you're doing now, or you don't quite understand it, but it fits with your skill set, just go for it. That's my kind of mantra. I think for business partnership, if you're selected for a role, or there's a role in another organization in another country, like I did, you may get scared off at first, thinking, oh, their culture might be different, the way they run things might be different. But actually, you'll find that business partnership in any organization is kind of structured in a similar way, and not to kind of seize the opportunity where you can get experience in other organizations. I think sometimes people stay within the role or stay within one organization and hope for growth there. And I think sometimes, had I not took the plunge and come to a bigger organization like this, from Suzuki to this, I think I would have not learned as much as I have now. And I think that business partnership acumen that you get is only from exposure to multiple different organizations and structures and projects. So yeah, I definitely would say that would be my advice. Try and get as much time and enough in-depth time. So I'm not saying jump from one company to another, but have a good amount of time within each organization that you become a specialist at what you do, so that nothing ever surprises you anymore. That would be my
That's nice advice. Yeah, it's nice advice, and it is brave what you've done. But they say that you don't grow unless you're out of your comfort zone, and you definitely jumped out of your comfort zone going to a different country, and quite a different country, to be honest. So it's great you've done that. But as you've said, what you've learned since you've been there, had you not made that move, you wouldn't have been exposed to all this different stuff. So you never would have known really what you're capable of and what the role could be. You're wonderful. You did that, and congratulate you, and and wish you the best of success going forward. And thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been wonderful to have you as a guest. There's always lots of great insights. So it's great that you've been able to share that. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. So thanks so much for coming on the episode. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing where you go from here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maryam.